She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The woman stood perfectly still, polished heels planted on the sidewalk like a claim of ownership. Around her, laughter rippled, soft at first, then louder, as phones came out and lenses locked in. The man knelt, not because he was asked politely, because hunger doesn't argue. She watched him lower himself, watched his hands shake as they reached for her shoe. Then she lifted her leg just a little higher, forcing him closer, forcing his face down. "Careful," she said casually. "You're smudging it." The crowd laughed again, and in that moment the sidewalk stopped being a sidewalk. It became a stage, and she was enjoying every second of it.
The first phone came out before he even answered her. By the time she lifted her foot, there were already people smiling. And when she said the words, "Clean it properly, then I'll give you something to eat," nobody stopped her. What none of them realized was that the man kneeling on the pavement wasn't begging, he was watching. What none of them understood was that this wasn't just cruelty, it was evidence. The morning air outside the Hartwell Tower carried the smell of polished stone and hot coffee, an aroma that belonged to people who walked fast and never looked down. At exactly 8:41 a.m., the first laugh cut through it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel enough to stand out. It was the kind of laugh people used when they thought no one important was listening. The man kneeling on the pavement heard it anyway. He had been there since before sunrise, seated on the edge of the sidewalk where the concrete met the brushed steel planters. His jacket was thin, its seams frayed and darkened with age. One sleeve hung slightly longer than the other, stretched and misshapen. His jeans were faded to the color of dust, ripped at one knee and patched with a piece of fabric that didn't quite match. His shoes, what was left of them, were scuffed beyond recognition. To most people, he blended into the background, another fixture of the city, another shape to step around. His name was Caleb Reed, and he was watching everything. She came out of the building like she owned the sidewalk, tall, confident, wrapped in a tailored pink blazer that caught the light just enough to demand attention. Her heels clicked against the stone with a rhythm that announced authority. People turned, not because they were told to, but because her presence made it feel necessary. Her name was Maya Whitmore, 28 years old, office operations manager, the kind of title that sounded smaller than it was. She stopped when she saw him, not out of concern, out of inconvenience. Her eyes flicked down, assessing him the way someone might assess a stain on a carpet. She exhaled sharply, one hand drifting to her hip. "Seriously?" she muttered. Her coworkers spilled out behind her in clusters, men and women in crisp suits, lanyards hanging from their necks, phones already in their hands. Someone snorted. Someone else whispered something that caused another ripple of laughter. Caleb felt the vibration of the city through the pavement beneath his knee. He didn't look up. Not yet. "Hey," she said. The word wasn't angry. It wasn't kind either. It was flat, transactional. Caleb lifted his gaze slowly, carefully, like a man who had learned that sudden movements made people nervous. "Yes, ma'am." The tone surprised her. It wasn't begging. It wasn't shaky. It wasn't submissive. It was calm. She frowned slightly, and then gestured toward his cup on the ground, empty, save for 2 coins that had been there since dawn. "You want money?" A pause. "Yes," Caleb said. "For food." That was when she smiled. It was small, tight, controlled. "Well," she said, lifting her foot slightly, "you're not getting it for free." Behind her, a phone rose higher. Another followed. Someone chuckled openly now. Caleb noticed the way the crowd subtly adjusted, forming a loose half-circle. The way curiosity sharpened their posture. The way judgment softened their faces. He had seen this before. Not this exact scene, but this feeling. The moment when people decided who you were, without asking. She placed her heel on the low concrete edge of the planter, balancing effortlessly. "My shoes are dirty," she said. "Clean them, a beat. Then," she added, "I'll give you something to eat." The phones were out now. No one said anything. No one stopped her. A man in a navy suit laughed openly, nudging the woman beside him. She raised her phone higher, angling for a better shot. "Is she serious?" someone whispered. "Guess he's lucky," another voice said. "At least she's offering." Caleb looked at the shoe. It was black, expensive, perfectly shaped. A speck of dust clung to the heel, nothing more. He could smell the leather. He could also smell the irony. Slowly, deliberately, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a rag. It was old, gray, soft from years of use. The laughter quieted. Maya's eyebrows lifted, impressed in the way people are impressed by obedience. "That's right," she said. "Use that." Caleb shifted onto one knee. The concrete was cold. As he began to wipe the shoe, the world narrowed, the scrape of fabric against leather, the sound of phones clicking, the shallow breathing of the woman above him. He moved carefully, methodically, not rushed, not sloppy. Someone in the crowd scoffed. "Look at him," a man said, like he's grateful. Caleb heard it. He wiped the heel, then the toe, then the side. A faint reflection of his face appeared in the polished leather. Calm, focused, controlled. Maya crossed her arms. "Do it properly," she said. "I don't want streaks." He nodded once. "Yes, ma'am." Another laugh. Someone started recording horizontally now. No one noticed the watch. It was barely visible, hidden beneath a frayed cuff of his sleeve. Old, worn, but unmistakably well made. No one noticed the way he scanned faces, not randomly, but with intention. No one noticed the security camera above the building entrance, angled just slightly toward the sidewalk. No one noticed the man in the lobby behind the glass doors who had stopped walking, because if they had, the laughter might have died sooner. Maya still wasn't satisfied. She never was. She shifted her stance and lifted her leg higher, forcing Caleb to lean forward until his balance wavered. The heel hovered close enough that he could smell the leather. "Careful," she said softly. "These cost more than you'll see in a year." A few people laughed. One phone zoomed in. "Slow," Maya continued. "You people always rush when you're nervous." Caleb adjusted the rag and kept wiping. That's when someone broke formation. His name was Ethan. 24. New badge. Hands shaking, but he stepped forward anyway. "That's enough," Ethan said, louder than he meant to. "This isn't right." The sidewalk went silent. Maya didn't turn at first. She smiled. Slowly, she looked over her shoulder. "That wasn't directed at you," she said calmly. "He's a human being," Ethan replied, finding his voice. "You don't get to do this just because you have money." Maya turned fully now. Her smile disappeared completely. "You're probationary," she said, almost pleasantly. "Did you forget that?" Ethan didn't back away. "I don't care," he said. "Fire me if you want. This is cruel." The phones froze mid-record. Maya stepped closer until they were inches apart. Her voice dropped. Controlled, surgical. "You don't get moral here," she said. "You get employed." She turned sharply to the crowd. "Everyone recording, make sure you get his face too." Ethan's breath caught. Maya pointed at him. "After this," she said, "you're done. Badge, laptop, email access, gone." She looked down at Caleb again. "And you," she added, nudging her foot closer to his face. "Finish, or he loses his job for nothing." Ethan shook his head. "Don't. Too late," Maya said flatly. "This is what happens when you play hero." Ethan stood there, helpless, fists clenched. Caleb wiped the shoe, carefully, quietly, and no one laughed anymore. "Look at him," Maya said loudly. "He's still kneeling." A few nervous laughs answered her. She tilted her head, studying Caleb like a curiosity. "See?" she continued. "Grateful. They always are." She reached into her purse slowly, deliberately, making sure the crowd saw. A single bill appeared between her fingers. "Finish properly," she said, letting it sway just out of reach. "Then you can eat." Ethan took a half step forward. "Don't," he said. "Please, you've done enough." Maya didn't even look at him. "This," she said coolly, "is your fault now." She glanced at Caleb. "Mess it up," she added, "and he walks out unemployed." Ethan's face drained of color. Caleb looked at him once, just once. Then he went back to work. Slow, precise, careful, heel, toe, side. The shoe gleamed. Caleb leaned back slightly. "It's clean." Maya inspected it in silence, dragging the moment out. Then she let the bill fall, not into his hand, onto the pavement. "Don't spend it all at once," she said. A few people laughed again, sharper this time, more forced. Caleb reached down and picked it up. His fingers didn't shake. "Thank you," he said. Maya turned and walked away, already scrolling on her phone. Ethan stood frozen. No one said a word. That night, no one slept well. Not Caleb, lying awake under the hum of the city. Not Ethan, replaying every second, wondering if he just ended his career. And not Maya, though she didn't understand why. She lay awake staring at the ceiling, irritation gnawing at her chest, the image of that calm face refusing to leave her mind. The next morning, the boardroom was full. Executives, directors, senior managers. Maya sat confidently near the center of the table, legs crossed, tablet open. She leaned toward a colleague and whispered with a smirk, "Big day. Ownership's finally showing up." The doors opened. Conversation died mid-sentence. A man entered. Clean suit, measured stride, familiar eyes. Maya's smile faltered. Caleb Reed walked to the head of the table and sat down. A ripple moved through the room. Maya frowned sharply. "Who is this?" The CEO cleared his throat, suddenly very careful. "Miss Whitmore," he said. "This is Mr. Caleb Reed." She laughed once. "Right. Very funny." No one laughed with her. "He's the founder," the CEO continued, "and the majority owner." The silence that followed felt heavy enough to bend the air. Maya's face went pale. Caleb folded his hands on the table. "Good morning," he said calmly. Maya shot to her feet. I didn't know," she stammered. "If I had known." "That," Caleb said gently, "is the point." He looked around the room. "Yesterday," he continued, "I watched how power behaves when it believes no one important is watching." His gaze settled on Maya. "You humiliated a man for food." Maya's composure shattered. "I'm sorry," she cried. "Please, I worked so hard." "No," Caleb said quietly. He turned his head. "Ethan." The young man stiffened. "Stand up." Ethan rose slowly, hands clenched at his sides. "You spoke when it was inconvenient," Caleb said. "When it was costly, when it would have been easier to stay silent." He nodded once. "That matters." Caleb faced the room again. "Maya Whitmore," he said evenly. "You're terminated, effective immediately." Maya sobbed openly now. "Please," she begged. "Please, I'll do anything." Caleb didn't answer. He turned back to Ethan. "Congratulations," Caleb said. "You're the new office manager." Shock rippled around the table. Ethan stared, stunned. Caleb stood. Meeting adjourned. The video never went viral. There was no footage of the boardroom, but people noticed something. The next day, the sidewalk outside the office was empty. No man, no cup, just a handwritten sign taped to the concrete wall. "Character is what you do when you think no one is watching."